people because we're not going anywhere. We're not going to be subservient and bow down.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
I am 73. I work 40 hours a week. I take Balance of Nature pretty much religiously. One day, about 2 weeks ago, I cleaned a house that was 3.5 hours, another one that was 2.5 hours, another one that was 3.5 hours, and then I cleaned a commercial building and then cleaned half of another building. I got home at 10 o'clock at night. And who can do that at 73? Balance of Nature actually gives me quite a bit of energy. It's just amazing that fruits and vegetables could actually fix your problems. I don't have to have like coffee and whatever. I just take these and I have the energy.
Right now, Balance of Nature is offering free shipping and 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Chicago.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Rick Blavelone, second generation owner and CEO of Marketing Innovators and a customer of Signature Bank. Our family-run company was founded on the belief that connecting to people on a human level is the best way to build a great business. And when we were looking for a new bank, we didn't have to look far. We shared an office building with Signature Bank in Rosemont and quickly saw that they were truly locally owned and operated. That's why we partnered with Signature. And that relationship makes every business decision better and every communication clearer. Marketing Innovators looks forward to a long-lasting relationship with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's open enrollment season, and MediShare is a Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google MediShare and see if it is a fit for you.
8:37, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, and Jim.
On Chicago's northwest side, in Norwood Park, Higgins Road is blocked between east of Harlem and Nordica due to a water main break. CTA buses are being rerouted. Downtown Wabash is closed, Wacker to Hubbard around Trump Tower. That's with additional security in the wake of yesterday's incidents in Washington. On the Chicago Expressways, the Edens runs 15 minutes Lake Cook to Montrose. Kennedy, 24 minutes O'Hare to downtown. Congestion kicks in around Belmont. Outbound 20 minutes to the airport. From the Eisenhower, it's 32 minutes, 390 to downtown. Stevenson, 30 minutes, 355 Lakeshore Drive. Ryan has a travel time of 17 minutes from 95th to downtown. No incidents to report on I-57 to the Bishop Ford. I'm Jim Talamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. We'll have patchy morning fog, otherwise clouds today. High 36, plenty of clouds, 31 overnight. 37 at O'Hare. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560, The Answer, online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, on TuneIn, iHeart, and radio.com. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and the institutional reactions to what transpired yesterday at the Capitol. Big Tech has a lot to say. Of course, the focus has been on suspending Trump's Twitter and Facebook accounts.
And being yanked off of YouTube.
But did you catch this from Facebook? Facebook announced it would be stripping all photos and videos featuring Wednesday's riots at the U.S. Capitol, claiming such content promoted criminal activity.
Oh, wait, did they do that for all the Black Lives Matter riots during the summer? No.
I don't believe so.
No.
That's disturbing.
You're just going to erase history?
It's disturbing on multiple levels. It's disturbing, the hypocrisy piece of it. It's also disturbing the idea that watching protests, watching people committing illegal acts, then encourages other people to commit illegal acts because people have no agency, no mind of their own. They just mimic whatever activity they see on the internet, which is absurd. And number three, in terms of what is disturbing about this, we should absolutely see what happened. It's part of our history now. Right. And we should have discussions about it and take away lessons from it. Like, for example, taking selfies in Nancy Pelosi's chair, it does not make you an American revolutionary. And also, like some of the individuals who breached the Capitol and were running amok were Antifa infiltrators. We don't want to understand what happened. We're just going to take the official narrative of what happened and then eliminate any evidence that would provide a more textured and robust dialogue about it. That's troubling.
Right. I mean, are they afraid of a repeat performance or something? That this isn't going to encourage more of that?
Well, that's explicitly what they said.
Yeah.
Also, this that was underreported, 2 pipe bombs detonated in controlled explosion at the Republican National Committee's D.C. headquarters. A party official who is not authorized to go on the record confirmed to thefederalist.com the bombs were located in the back of the RNC's building while most of the party leadership was away in Florida for its annual meeting. But nonetheless, so again, perhaps more indicia that there were more than just Trump supporters present in D.C. on the mall around town yesterday. For more on all this, we're pleased to be joined again by Scott McKay, who's the editor at editor at the Hayride and contributor to the American Spectator. Scott, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What about this? Starting with sort of the big tech response, because this is going to be something that continues to be at least hotly debated, where it's allowed to be debated in the Biden years.
Well, I think you kind of stole my thunder on 2 different things. Number one, the more pictures that circulate on social media, the more obvious it's going to be that infiltrators get identified. And that blows up the narrative that, these were the mouth-breathing MAGA nuts that Trump has cultivated that, are a menace to society and so on and so forth. I mean, if it's proven that, the first people through the breach here were actually Black Lives Matter Antifa people that have been in Portland and Seattle and all these other places, that narrative completely falls away and, becomes counterproductive. So you can't have, pictures of all these people circulating, for that. The second thing is, I don't think they want ordinary Americans to see how many people were actually in Washington yesterday. I don't think they want, because I'm already looking at headlines, for all these various things like, it was a sparse crowd and then it turned into a riot, which is an abject lie. And the more pictures get out of what that event actually was, the easier it is to promulgate that lie. So I think that, those are the 2 main reasons for this. But at the end of the day, Facebook and Twitter are propaganda organs. That's what they are. They started out as social media platforms, and they have 100% transformed themselves into, partisan propaganda organs that, are there to promote a narrative, friendly to the Democrat Party and others. And they're going to do what it takes to fulfill that mission at this point. And the answer is just to get off and deny them, that possibility. It's Parler and MeWe and whatever other, social media services are out there. That's where conservatives need to go, and they need to get off Facebook and Twitter.
What about the case of Ashley Babbitt, the 14-year, Air Force veteran, served 4 tours, who, her murder has been seen, and I'm guilty of it too, because I tweeted out because she was trying to break into a window pane of a door, and was shot. But a lot of people saw it even on MSNBC when they were wheeling her out of the Capitol, and you can't unsee something like that.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is, I don't want to reduce her to a test case, but, okay, what did we have? We had George Floyd, we had Alton Sterling, we had Breonna Taylor, we've had Michael Brown, and now you have Ashley Babbitt, right? Mm-hmm. And what this is ultimately going to come down to in some quarters, and Mike, just because of the nature of the people involved, it won't become as big a thing. But, the real question is, do Q lives matter now? Because supposedly she was a big, QAnon person, and she goes to the Capitol. She's doing something she probably shouldn't have done, but does she deserve to die for it? Well, that was the question that we kept hearing in the, Michael Brown, Alton Sterling, George Floyd, things where the cops killed somebody. It's not worth murdering somebody over. Like, okay, so this is somebody that was unarmed, that was simply in the U.S. Capitol with all kinds of other folks. She gets shot in the neck and killed in front of everybody. And we're not supposed to have, anything whatsoever to say about that. I mean, I don't support what happened at the Capitol. I think it was a trap that Trump and his supporters fell into. And I think the left is absolutely overjoyed about everything that happened yesterday. But the double standard that's going to show up where Ashley Babbitt is concerned is stark. I mean, it is really, really stark. And nobody in the mainstream media is even going to remember her name by tomorrow. And that should tell you something.
Right. And again, she was in a place she shouldn't have been, as were a bunch of other people. But you
get arrested for that.
No, I understand. That's where I was going. And the reporting is that she was shot by a Capitol police officer, but we don't know the details of that. And an enterprising reporter, an enterprising press corps may want to find out the details of that, the way that we pour over the details and have to pour over them again and again because of so much misinformation about things that police-involved shootings that happened 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Right. That's exactly right.
Well, and the other thing too, and just in terms of what you said about the left being overjoyed about this, I mean, some of the reaction again here to her death on those platforms you say we need to get off of, Twitter and Facebook. I mean, I'm reading one from a former Jeopardy contestant who just says that one of the few good things that happened as a result of the Capitol protests, in quotation marks, is that Ashley Babbitt is feeding the worms, and so on and so forth. And we see this, and again, that's not isolated, and we see a lot of nonsense and ugliness and hatefulness on these platforms in every which direction. But it speaks to the folly of suggesting that if politicians just make strong statements against violence and hate, that we're going to unify the country. And the people who are the most morally indignant are the ones that are the best uniters, no matter how hypocritical or disingenuous they are. And I'm sort of sick of being in that cycle that includes a lot of erstwhile conservative pundits on Fox and elsewhere, too, that are feeding us this line of bull jive.
Well, I mean, the one that entertains me the most is Eric Erickson, who blasted out to his email list yesterday morning following the twin debacle Senate races in Georgia, saying, "Oh, we've got to get the Republican establishment and the MAGA people have got to come together because we're going to lose the country." Blah blah blah. By the afternoon, he was tweeting, "Shoot the protesters," and ended up getting himself bounced off of Twitter. And it's like, okay, you might not be the guy that can unify the conservative movement anymore, Eric.
Right.
But yeah, look, I mean, when Luke Letlow died of COVID, okay. And I mean, if there's ever a situation where you should be, regardless of your politics, you should be sympathetic to, a 41-year-old guy who had no reason to think he could die of this, and leaves a wife with a 10-month-old and a 3-year-old. Like, now is the time to put politics aside. Oh no, he deserved it because he went around campaigning without a mask on. Okay,
well,
that literally was what was all over Twitter when Letlow died.
See, this is the key point, and that's a great example of it. That of course the politicians don't want to address because they've got the intellectual depth of a cookie tray. But the point here is the sentimental barbarism that has taken over our culture, where you think that somebody else's death is the occasion for you to preen about some political position you're taking. I mean, that is sort of quintessential sentimentality, which is a synonym for barbarism, and that's really where we're at. And yesterday was, in part, an example of that.
No, I would say that, I would maybe go a little bit, afield here, and I'd say, think about how irritated those people get when you say all lives matter. Right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't just apply to the Black Lives Matter thing. When you say all lives matter, it means that, Luke Letlow's life matters and Ashley Babbitt's life matter. And to those people, they don't. They want to be rid of the Luke Letlows and Ashley Babbitts. I mean, that's the real issue here. And I think you're going to see that play out more and more and more as, things get worse, which they will. I mean, you saw it in the Senate when they got back in after the disturbances were done. And I mean, the Chris Coonses and Liz Warrens of the world let loose. And I mean, there was no limiting principle to the invective that those people could throw out. They blamed the Republicans for everything bad in the world when they got back out there. Called them traitors and worse. And, and then they preach about unity. And it's like, are you kidding me? You're on C-SPAN. What are we doing here? They're trying to stoke this. They want to stoke it. They want to, demonize the people that disagree with them so that they have license to do the things that they've always wanted to do, which is to turn this country into an authoritarian, paradise for the ruling class. And, I mean, it's at this point, you can't even deny it. I mean, you can see it. And that's why, I mean, you mentioned the Antifa people and, the question of whether this was all an agent provocateur thing. I think you start there because you got to look at who benefits from this. And those are the people who benefited from it.